Welcome to week 5. Cory has decided to design a furniture suite for the nursery, and while he does that, I decided to work on some additional items and crafts. So this weekend, I stitched a floor cloth, and I do need to iron interfacing to the back, and that'll just seal the stitches so they don't pull out the front. You see it's made from Ida cloth, A-I-D-A, and it's just a little woodland floral piece. The fabric, I went ahead and frayed it for the little fringe. So I have that done. I also, let's see if it'll focus on it, stitched a tiny little piece to be framed and hung on the wall, and I cut my frame piece so that I can mount that, and I'll need to paint or stain to match the room. And when I was stitching, I also made a little hedgehog cushion, and I need to stitch that up. But one of the things I wanted to share with you guys was we were talking about a chair or a rocker or some kind of seating in the nursery, and he suggested a poof or footstool or ottoman. So I found this little pattern on the internet. Unfortunately, I was not able to find the original illustrator or person who made this, but stitched it up with some colors real quick. And I want to make a little square footstool. So this is going to be the top, the needle point part. And then I have fabric to cover the sides, and foam board, and just scrap card from the kitchen. So a little bit of recycling and stuff like that. So the first thing I did was I needed to measure my completed stitching, and I determined it's about 1.5 inches, which is good because at 1/12 scale that means it's about 18 inches wide, which is good, a good size. So I cut 2 pieces of slightly less than 1/4 inch thick foam board. This is just scraps I have, that's why it's black. I cut 2 squares, and that's going to be the top, and I cut 3 squares, which is going to be the bottom. And then I'm thinking about when I finish this, I'll also be gluing 4 little wooden beads on the bottom under the skirt as feet. So I haven't decided on the color of the feet yet, but I have this little thing of wooden beads that, as you can see, I have several choices to choose from. So we're going to go ahead and get started. The first thing I want to do is I want to soften the top, so I do want to cut a piece of batting that's the same size as my cushion. So I'm using a low loft batting. You could also use a piece of gauze padding, or like a thin cotton batting, or probably even a piece of craft felt. So, and I'm going to lay this here, and I just want enough to wrap around 2, I think, yeah. I want enough to wrap around 2. So I'm going to come out about 1 inch all the way around. I can kind of mark with my pencil here since it won't be seen. And I don't need to be exact here. I just want to make sure I have enough to wrap around my foam core. Okay, and I went ahead and pre-cut my little strip to wrap around. And I have my fabric glue here. I'm using Fabri-Tac because it dries clear and it dries quickly. And then I also have my narrow glue gun just in case I need to hold some things together just long enough for the glue to dry. So I don't want to apply any glue to the batting because I don't want that to sing, but I am going to apply a little of my Fabri-Tac to the foam core. And I don't need a lot. So just want to line those up, make sure that they're squared. And to kind of help hold that in place, I'm going to use some pins. And the nice thing about the Fabri-Tac is unlike the glue gun or some other craft glues, this will not cause the foam in the middle to melt. Just want to glue that in there. Again, I'm going to hold that with a couple of pins. I'm trying to pull it kind of snug because I don't want a lot of the Ida background to show through on the top. And just gonna pinch these corners here. I'm trying to make sure I stay on camera. I apologize, guys. Cory's using the overhead rig for the furniture assembly, so I'm kind of doing this off to the side here. Kind of pinch those corners. I'm going to trim those later, and I'm not too worried about them because they're going to be covered with fabric later. So I'm going to set that aside to dry a bit. Like I said, this stuff doesn't take too long to set. So there's that. And I need a strip. I'm just going to cut. I have my pinking shears, and the nice thing about the pinking shears is they kind of help prevent fabric from fraying. So I'm just going to cut a strip to go around my cardboard. You can see this. I don't need a lot because I don't want to have to trim up too much. And again, this is just a piece of packaging card. And I'm going to apply my glue. And I'm doing this on the inside. I'm gonna finish off one end by folding it over. And that's gonna be my corner piece. So when I wrap it around, I'm gonna kind of when I wrap it around, this piece is going to go just underneath it. So I'll actually have a finished corner on one end. So, okay. And I'm going to go ahead and glue my bottom pieces together. And these I want to cover so that underneath the skirting it'll have a solid piece. So again, I just want to cut just a strip. I'm gonna apply my glue to the four sides, and this is going to be the bottom edge or in the corner, so I want to make sure I cover that. Now I need to kind of measure and fold back. Okay, so kind of want to measure, fold back that. Didn't quite get it far enough back. You know what? I think I'm just going to cut it flush. I think the glue will help keep that from fraying. So, and then I'm just going to clip to the corners. And I'm going to glue those down. do the same with this part. Now, I need to make my skirt, which is just going to be 4 panels. Go ahead and cut my strip. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and fold up and glue that hem along the bottom. And I want to kind of try to get a nice sharp crease on that edge. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and cut my first one. Now I want to make sure I have a little extra because I need to fold that back at the corners. So, and I want the same at the other. And then that will let me know how long to make the other 3 pieces. 2, 3, 4. Glue tends to bubble up out of the bottom. So I'm going to use my block. One side and the other side. And again, I want to try to make those kind of sharp. Okay, that's one. That's 2. last one. Last one. I kind of want to decide which one is my bottom side. I went ahead and added some of this fusible interfacing. It's black, that's just a scrap I had, but I think it'll finish off the bottom better. And I'm going to switch to my glue gun to finish this. I'm going to go ahead and add my 4 beads as my feet. And I picked kind of a reddish color. And I'm just going to apply a little glue. Put the bead down. Now you could use PVA glue or that. In that case, what I would do is I would just use a straight pin just to kind of keep the beads in place until it dries. The nice part with this very narrow nozzle glue gun is it allows me to do a very precise, so I don't get a lot of spider webs or strings or that. So there's our 4 feet. And I did that so I can judge where I need to, how long the skirt needs to be. Because we want the skirt to be right above those 4 beads. So, kind of join there. And apply a little glue here. Glue that down. I'm actually going to go on a round robin fashion because that'll put those pieces stacked on top. I'm going to try to match up the corner the same length. Keep it level. And apply my little glue line. Be careful with hot glue. It's aptly named. Even a cool touch glue gun can get pretty hot. Now these don't want to stay, so I think I'm going to apply a little glue just to hold those down. Just here and here. Because I don't want it smashed down on top, but I do want it to stay. Next one. And I'm reloaded. Last one. Okay, and just a couple of spots just to keep that down. So now we have this. We have our 4 legs and we have our skirt. And time to work on our top piece. And the glue should be dry. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut these corners. And I'm just going to cut the excess. And I'm going to glue this on top. So, just a little glue. Okay, now that doesn't look very pretty. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our strip, and that's going to kind of fit right between the top and the top of our skirt. Now I'm just going to take this and I want to measure around. Okay. So that's the fabric I need. I'm just going to kind of remove the cardboard so I don't have bulk there. I just want the fabric. So, hot. Remember what I said about glue? Okay. And I think I want to start in this bottom corner. So, apply my glue. And then I'm going to glue this piece down in here. And that's just fabric, and I'm just going to kind of poke it down in there. Okay, I'm sorry guys, I'm trying to make sure that this stays in. So I'm going to glue this side down next. Okay. We have our next side. And our last side. Okay. And that's our little footstool. We've got a little footstool with a skirt and our stitched top. This week, it's been kind of a rough week. I haven't had a lot of chance to work on the diorama. I did take some time today to do the flowers like I wanted. See if it'll focus. Some ferns and some orangish flowers to go with the teal. So this is the side that will stick out of the cubby, and then to the side we have our mural, and then inside I did a couple of small things. I have my drapery hardware, let's see here, and that needs a dowel painted for the rod so I can make the curtains. Our window does work. So I can get it to focus. So our window does work. It's a little loose. So we have our wallpaper up, and it's almost the exact same color the design is as the trim, but it looks a little darker on camera. So in addition to that, bear with me here, I did make the rug, and I got the interfacing on the back to seal the stitches. So we have our floor cloth. This video I did the tutorial, so we have our little footstool. I got the tiny stitching of the footprints, and that's been framed so that can go on the wall. I have made 2 sweater and bonnet sets in kind of a beige and the peachy color. I finished the little pillow with the hedgehog, and then yesterday I had fun. I had these little fallouts from another project, so I went online and we have some little golden books. We have baby animals, and of course we had to have the Pokey Little Puppy. And if you have the Pokey Little Puppy, you have to have, let's see if it'll focus, you have to have the Tiny Shy Kitten. Since it's a forest theme, I found this one, the Littlest Raccoon, and a classic Beatrix Potter's Peter Rabbit. So we have some little vintage books to put on our shelf. And I'm going to show you guys video of Cory designing our shelf. For our nursery, and this kind of gives you a hint as to the design, it needs to be stained or painted and attached to the wall. He decided that he liked the inspiration picture so much that he is actually now making the dresser with the changing table tray and the crib. So we won't be using this crib, we'll be using one that he made. And along with the crib, I'm trying to make a mobile that will attach to the side of the crib. So, didn't get a lot done. Well, I mean, this is quite detailed, but I didn't get any of the furniture done this week. I'm downstairs crocheting a blanket for the crib, and next week, he should have the furniture cut and assembled so that we can test fit it. And then once the furniture's done and inside, and kind of figure out where everything's gonna go, start on a few tiny details, some artwork for the walls. So that's where we are. It's a short video this week because most of it had to take place off camera. But we'll see you guys next week for the furniture.